Greetings, Inquisitors. Welcome to the Holocron. This is my 2025 guide to starting Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. It's for any new Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes account. Lightspeed bundles are a thing in the game. I can't include those in this guide because I won't know at any given time what Lightspeed bundles are available, but I will make mention of that as we go along. The agenda, I first want to introduce for brand new players, we'll talk about the Executor Journey discarded doctrine that this is based on. We'll talk about what we hope to accomplish, how to start a journey, all of those things. Then we'll go into just a generic how to get started in the game, some early teams that we might want to take a look at. Then I'll go into organizing this journey. It'll be an overview. You'll see a bunch of stuff. It won't make sense. But then we're going to go into details in 3 different phases. We'll take phase 1 for the first 8 weeks of account play. Phase 2 will be the next 16 weeks. And then phase 3 will finish this out until the end of the Executor Journey. Then we're going to go through specifically the Executor Journey completion, some details that you might want to know there. And I'll wrap it up with some final thoughts. This will be a pretty long holocron because it is intended to have enough detail that any new person should be able to understand all of this and start building their account in the right way. A path is going to be established here, not just to build the Executor capital ship, but also with consideration for many different game modes. We're going to optimize the efficiency for the whole account. You may hear some people say an Executor rush or a Galactic Legend rush. When you hear things like that, be skeptical. It's much better to build a good foundation for your account that builds the good high efficiency things early in the game and builds these journeys at the right time. So I believe that this is going to be a good combination of all the different game modes in the order of importance with what should come first. I've done a series of 6 new player guides for 2025. These player guides explain the game. The first one talks about the game. I talk about how to spend crystals, how to spend money in the game, how to optimize all the different shops, the mechanics for making relic characters, my own process for organizing and building accounts. So if you haven't watched those 6 guides, I would suggest after you watch this one, watch those. It's going to fill in a lot of the gaps about how to play the game, how to use the shops, and all of those things. If you're a new player, I strongly believe it's in your best interest to watch all of those as well. This path is going to be manageable for people of any skill level. I do propose a timeline, and the timeline represents average efficiency. So a competitive player should be able to achieve these timelines. A more casual player may not achieve the timelines. Don't worry about it. The timelines are milestones. They're not meant to be hard and fast. You have to be here within 10 weeks. It's more of a guideline to say, do these things in this order, and this is roughly the time that it would take for an efficient player to complete it. The basis of this is Fleet Arena crystals. If you want to build your account, you need crystals to power your daily refreshes. The easiest way to power your refreshes is to get free crystals from Fleet Arena every day. The Executor is going to solve that for a long time to come, so we're going to build into the Executor. I did guides before in prior years for both the Executor and also the Profundity. They're capital ships that have been roughly equal power. The introduction of the Punishing One ship has made the Executor quite a bit superior. And I did the Profundity journey myself on a Lex Talionis project last year, and I found that building a Relic 9 on a completely free-to-play account was nonsense. So if you're willing to spend money in the game, it's not too hard, but if you're really trying to play free-to-play, the Profundity is not a journey that I would recommend anymore. The amount that I had to organize and figure out to get that to work, it doesn't feel like that's good for the average player. So this year, I'm only putting out this guide for the Executor. I believe that's the best and only right way to start with the current meta. That may change in the future. Another fleet may come out. Who knows? But that's what it is currently. Watch my other guides. I'm going to assume throughout this, I'm going to skip a lot of the details, but I'm going to assume that you're going to watch those other holocrons and find those things out. So if you're a brand new player, you might be thinking to yourself, what's a journey? How do I start? How do I know? What is all this stuff? So before we get into all that, let's just take a very simple, quick journey and demonstrate what a journey is and how you can use the tools in the game. The journey guide, you see on the left-hand side, there's these 4 bubbles. The journey guide is the second one down. When you click on it, it'll bring you to this section. We can select solo journeys. There's different tiers. And up here in tier 5, you'll see the discarded Doctrine. You click on this capital ship, and it says the Executor is the prize. And we can go in here and see all of the characters and ships that are required for the journey. Now, I've already completed the journey on this account, so I can't show you that. But what I can do is go pick a different journey, again, just for the sake of showing you how it works. I don't have a Leviathan on this account yet, so I can begin this journey. When you click the begin journey, it's going to highlight with this little golden bracket and show you that that is your current active journey for the account. I suggest doing that so that when you go into collection, there's a tab journey guide. You can click on that. And here we see all of the ships that would be required for us to work on for this journey. We can click on characters, and that will take us to the characters that we need for the journey. And we can then organize, look at, see what's relict, and manage from this tab. So again, if you want to farm the ships from here, you can just click on this tab, use it to farm your ships. If you want to build characters from here, you can actually click on the character and you can interact with it like you can from any other screen. It just organizes it with exactly what you need for the journey so that you don't get things confused on what to upgrade, and you build from there. So that's the journey guide and how you can use it. So I suggest that you set up the Executor journey, discard a Doctrine. You will go on other journeys. Let's say, for instance, you want to unlock Grandmaster Yoda, R2-D2, something like that. Fine, go in the journey guide, select those, start them, work on them. But then when you're just, working on your account normally, I do suggest that you always go back to that Executor and manage it easily from that journey guide tab. All right, so completing the journey, getting the Executor is our first big goal, but there's a lot of other things that we want to do along the way. So we're going to stabilize the account, get good income from free resources from the game. We're going to build some baseline teams. We're going to try for some early fleet presence, event participation. We're going to talk about raids. So let's get into the first things. If you're a brand new player, if you're starting from level 1, you're probably going to be working on this Phoenix team. The Phoenix team should also include Captain Rex. He's a character that was added to the Phoenix later, and you can farm him up. He's a really good character, and he sort of changes the Phoenix from a pretty lame team to a pretty fantastic team. So we're going to suggest the Phoenix with Hera, Rex, Kanan, Chopper, and Zeb. And again, these are shop characters for the most part. We can just farm up Rex and have a Phoenix team. That gives us a light side team that we can use for anything that requires a light side team specifically. It also will unlock Grandmaster Thrawn and some things like that. The Geos are a good generic dark side team. I've deprioritized them a lot in this build, but I think it's still worth building that team, let's say at 4 stars or 5 stars, getting these characters unlocked, and having a dark side team. The Geos have a lot of synergy. They get a lot of free hit points out of their kit. So it's a team that really does a lot for its relative gear level. So it's a team that we're going to look at as one of the first 2 teams. The goal for the Phoenix is to eventually take all these characters to 7 stars. If you're building these characters and it interferes with our ability to do our journey, then we're going to want to back off of Phoenix and wait till later. This is a good early game team. We eventually want to get them to 7 stars, but it doesn't have to be right away, right? We can establish this team, get them to 5 stars. If you buy the Hyperdrive bundle, you'll get a bunch of these characters at 5 stars and just get them going. But eventually, 7 stars. And the Zeta on Rex might be your 3rd Zeta for the account if you're going to work on Phoenix. For gear levels, I would say gear 8 or 9 for the Phoenix. Gear 12 on Rex is fine, but I wouldn't go past 8 or 9 for the rest of them in the early game. If you want the Phoenix ships, you'll have to add Sabine and Ezra. Those characters also need to be unlocked in order to unlock their ships. At this time, I'm going to recommend starting the Geos, getting them to 5 stars, and then moving on to other things. Gear 8 is fine. Queen's Will is a good Zeta, and in the past I've prioritized that Zeta. I've deprioritized it with this build. I don't think it's really needed anymore. If you do join a guild that's doing the Wat Tambor mission, and you have to have your Geos to Wat Tambor status, they will need to be 7 stars, gear 12, and you'll want that Zeta on Queen's Will for sure. But otherwise, just get the team started to have it, and don't spend too much gear on it at this point. The teams that we're going to want to work on next. So we'll start working on those 2 teams, but right away we're going to organize ourselves to be building an Imperial Trooper team, Jedi, and Bounty Hunters. We actually want 1 more Bounty Hunter, but I couldn't get 6 on the tab, so let's talk this through. For the Troopers, Veers, Piet, Stark, Iden Versio, Stormtrooper. This is not the best Trooper team that you can build, but this is the team that's going to be mostly shop characters. Iden and Piet have to be farmed, but this will give us a basis for a very good Trooper team, and we can mix and match and add Troopers later, make 2 teams out of this, etc. So while this isn't the best team, let's say for instance Dark Trooper would be much better to have in this team, but we can't afford another Trooper that has to be farmed in the early game. So we just have to pass on that for now. For the Jedi, Lumi, Kit Fisto, Ahsoka Snips, Mace, Qui-Gon Jinn. Again, a bunch of shop characters. We're going to use these 5 to unlock Grandmaster Yoda. And these are going to qualify us for the Naboo raid. That's the current raid at the time of this production. In the future, that raid may be different, and you'll want to take this Jedi team and replace it with whatever is relevant for the current raid. The Bounty Hunters on the bottom, Bosk, Cad Bane, Boba Fett, Greef Karga, Dengar. We also need IG-88, not appearing in this sequence. Other characters that we have to work on, TIE Fighter Pilot, Grand Moff Tarkin, Darth Vader, Mara Jade, and Emperor Palpatine. Mara Jade comes much later, but I'm just putting her here to kind of show that it's going to be a character that we're going to work on that's not really part of the journey, but that it'll all make sense when I get to the phases and explain in detail. For the Imperial Troopers, the target is to get all of these characters to 7 stars. The Stormtrooper will be easily 7 stars out of the shop. Veers is available out of the shop, but you may not be able to get him to 7 stars fast enough. You may need to look at a little bit of farming on Veers. But we want to get Iden Versio to Relic very quickly in this team. And in fact, she's going to be the 2nd Relic for our account. The other troopers can be gear 8 or so at the start, as long as we've got some reasonable mods in them. And the idea is to build this team so that we can start getting challenge tier 1 completions on 2 different assault battles as soon as we possibly can in the account. It does require 2 Zetas, the Emperor's Trap on Piet, and Aggressive Tactician on Veers, and that'll get this team up and running. And with 1 Relic Damage Dealer of Iden Versio, it should be easy to complete challenge tier 1. The Jedi team, the target here is to get them to at least 5 stars. Gear 9 is fine, maybe gear 10. Unlock Grandmaster Yoda, work on him as part of the raid team. If you watch this after there's a new raid, then replace all of this with, whatever simple team. Whenever there's a raid, there's always like a basic team or 2 that can get you participation points. That's what we're wanting to do with this. It's not specifically about building a Jedi team. In the past, I recommended Qui-Gon as one of the first Omicron characters for the account. It's really good in Grand Arena. Build a big Jedi Knight Anakin, put him behind Qui-Gon leadership, and you can do some interesting things. However, with the current poor matchmaking in GAC, I really have deprioritized that. So we're not doing Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron. He's just an easy character to put on this team for raid participation. Bounty Hunters are characters that are needed for the Executor Fleet. They're also going to be used to unlock Chewbacca. We're going to want CLS team as one of our first teams that we build after the Executor. So unlocking Chewbacca is going to be important for that, as well as for the Smuggler's Run event. So there's a lot of reasons we want to do this. So putting gear on these Bounty Hunters and getting them built up is going to be prioritized. Bosk and Dengar are going to be the most important. IG-88 is also part of the journey, but he's not in that team specifically, but you'll still have to get him out of the shops. he can wait until a little bit later. I did work out a path where we took Home 1 as our capital ship, worked on the Phoenix, got the Chimera unlocked, but it was a little too complex, and I figured at the end of the day it's better to make this simple. So we're going to build Tarkin and use the Executrix as our first fleet commander, and then later, when the Executor is online, we'll have a full second fleet with this build that can run under Executrix or run even better under Chimera, so you can leave the Chimera till much later. But you don't want to put too much prestige and spend everything on maxing out the Executrix unless you want to keep that as your capital ship, which is fine. But having Tarkin as a character, then we have to build him up, give him some gear as the admiral for our Executrix ship. TIE Pilot is part of the Executor journey, and he's an easy character to get to relics. It's easy to get him to 7 stars. If you farm him out of Cantina, you'll be getting the character shards as well as the ship shards. It's also a character that's available for shop currency, so you can be buying him out of the shops, farming him at the same time, and very quickly get his ship to 7 stars, get the character to 7 stars, and have a relic level ship very early in the game. Darth Vader has always been at the front of the list for relicking, but I've moved him way out in the sequence. I just don't think it's relevant. He's really good in GAC, but again, GAC's been deprioritized in this build. Once we do build Vader, we can build this Empire team, Palpatine, Vader, Thrawn, and we'll have to farm Mara Jade, and then Tarkin can go in that team as well. So we're gonna bring that team together in a later phase. So now let's get specific. We're gonna go through 3 sections. I'll lay out a complete guide first and show you like the whole journey, and then I'll get specific about the journey in parts. I'll talk about Zetas, Omicrons, all that stuff, and talk you through what fleet you should be using to try to guarantee that fleet arena placement. So this is the block farming visual that shows you the whole journey from start to finish as I've laid it out. It gives all of the hard farms that you're going to be doing with your regular energy, light and dark side. It gives suggestions for the timing and priority of the Cantina farms. The fleet farms are all defined, and then a suggested priority and timeline for relics. So we'll talk through all that in detail. Phase 1, our purpose. In Phase 1, absolutely must establish a powerful fleet as early as we can. Start getting that fleet arena placement. Start getting those free crystals every day. That's what we're going to work on. We're going to try to build the Imperial Trooper team very early on. Try to get 2 assault battles under control and start getting some free. Challenge Tier 1 gets you injector parts for your characters. Those will be needed to make relic characters. If you can't get them in some way, you have to farm them up. And for your first few relics, these are going to be painful to have to farm. So we want to start getting those rewards for free from the assault battles so that we have to farm less and less with each character that we relic. You're going to want to immediately get into a guild that has a daily ticket requirement. So if you're applying to a guild and they say something like there's a requirement that you get 600 tickets every day, that means you want to join that guild. Raids launch at a certain amount of tickets. If there's 50 people in the guild and everybody's doing their part, you'll get a raid every 6 days. Most guilds can't achieve that with an early game guild, but at least join a guild that has a requirement, and you want to get those raids launched as frequently as you can. In terms of resources, again, watch my other guides. It'll talk a lot about resources, but for this holocron, I'll say very early on in the game, your Mark 1 raid tokens are going to be under a lot of pressure. You can buy credits with Mark 1 raid tokens. You're going to want to buy credits. You're going to want to save up each time you get a raid payout. Save that currency. Don't just go in and spend it immediately on gear. Spend a third of it just buying credits so that you can afford to level your characters up. Spend about a third of it on the characters that you need to buy. At first, you're going to want to focus on Dengar. Just buy Dengar every time the shop refreshes and get him to 7 stars as fast as you can. The remaining third, reserve that for gear that you can't really get elsewhere from the game. Don't just buy everything you need for a particular character. Try to get it elsewhere in the game and only buy it out of the shop if you really can't find it somewhere else. There's 4 types of gear that I would expect you're going to have to buy here. Mark III Carbonti, Mark V Stun Gun, Mark III Stun Cuff, Mark IV Comlink. Those things are hard to find elsewhere in the game. You'll probably have to buy them out of the shop. Maybe also Mark III projectors, but don't just go in here and go crazy buying gear. Wait, try to find the gear elsewhere, and then buy it out of the shop if that's the only place you can find it. But divide it up in thirds. The Phoenix and Geos should be pursued at low level to help ensure that you have teams, but you're quickly going to move on. If you buy the Hyperdrive bundle, or if you find that you're very quickly working on the teams that I've identified, like the Troopers and Bounty Hunters, then you can leave those teams behind. They are optional. Don't let them get in the way of your journey. So if you're ready to relic Cad Bane, you shouldn't be buying Phoenix out of the shop, if that makes sense. It's not always easy to 3-star the light and dark nodes. So even if you buy Hyperdrive, I think there's still nodes that you have to finish out. In order to sim those nodes, you have to get 3-star completion. A lot of times with these early game teams, you can beat the node, but you can't get 3 stars. Here's an easy way to get 3 stars. You want big friends. If you find somebody with a high-level account, use their ally code, invite them as a friend, and they'll have a relic level character or some really big character that you can use when you go into these light or dark side battles. You get to pick from your friends list one of their characters to help you. So you get some big friends, you go in there, you pick one character. Like let's say you focused a lot on that TIE Pilot because he's the first character that you want to build for your account. So you've got a Gear 12 TIE Pilot and nothing to go with him. You put just the TIE Pilot, then you invite a really good dark side character from one of your big friends, and you throw it in that node, and you get 3-star completion. Easily. Okay? If you don't know where to find big friends, go to your guild. There's probably some higher level players that are willing to friend you and let you use their characters. In my Loquitur Discord, the link is down below. You can click on that. We've actually got a channel that's specifically for higher level players that are willing to help new players out. Enter their codes, use the big friend method, unlock those nodes. As we go through the details here, it's important to note the Razor Crest, to my knowledge, only shows up in Fleet. It's a rare appearance in the Fleet store. So in order to get that Razor Crest ready for the Executor journey, you really need to be able to buy it every time it shows up in the shop. Leave a bank of about, let's say, 3,000 Fleet currency. Don't spend all the way to 0, and make sure that every single time the shop refreshes, you look at it, and every single time the Razor Crest is there, you can always make that purchase and get the Razor Crest unlocked. If you don't unlock the Razor Crest, you will not get Executor. For people wishing to minimize the cost, free-to-play players, it's really going to be critical to look at that shop. Learn your reset times. If you go into the Fleet store and you don't know when it resets, just look at the shop. It'll show you right in the tab. Resets in 3 hours, 14 minutes, whatever that time is. It'll tell you right there. Learn your reset times and make sure you look at all your Fleet stores. Statistically, based on the amount of times that it should appear, by the time we're done with this journey, we should have the Razor Crest at least at 6 stars. Some people will find that they have it at 7 stars. Some people will find that they're struggling to get Razor Crest shards. So the statistics on that leave a pretty big range. Just make sure you buy it whenever it shows up. Details on Phase 1, the first 8 weeks. We're going to farm Houndstooth, Captain Rex, and Bosk every day. You're going to go to those nodes, and you're going to sim and do 5 runs and gather as many shards as you can for those characters. For Iden Versio and Admiral Piet, we're going to try to force those characters to 7 stars as fast as we can to try to get this trooper team up and running at 7 stars as soon as possible. That means you're going to go in, farm Admiral Piet 5 times. You're going to click the node. It's going to say, do you want to pay 25 crystals to refresh the node? You say yes, and you farm it again for a total of 10 runs per day. We're going to do that for Piet, and also for Iden Versio. That gives us a total of 7 farms per day. 3 that we're doing 5 runs on, and 2 that we're doing 10 runs on. All right. In the Cantina, you may want to unlock that Soldier, Spy, and Brute Alpha for the Geo team. But as soon as you're done unlocking them, move on immediately to that TIE Fighter pilot. Buy him out of the shops. Farm him from the node. We want to make sure that we get TIE Fighter pilot to 7 stars, gear 12. Start working on his relic as soon as we can. In Fleet, we're going to farm the TIE Defender twice per day. Just like I talked about with those characters, we're going to refresh the node and farm it twice a day. We want to get this TIE Defender unlocked as soon as we can. We want to get it to the highest stars, and I propose to finish it all the way out to 7 stars. We'll also start farming Grief Karga. He's one of our bounty hunters. He's part of the journey to unlock Beskar Mando, so we need him. And Punishing One, we're going to start farming that right away as well. Pay attention to the gear needed for TIE Pilot. So if you've brand new to the game and you don't know what Swgoh.gg is, take a look. You can look it up on any browser. Just look up Swgoh.gg, and it will allow you to look at the characters in terms of gear levels, in terms of total gear needed. So you can go in there and learn a little bit about what the character is going to need. So if your TIE Pilot is at gear 12, you can already see this on the character. If your TIE Pilot's not gear 12, you can already go take a look and see which pieces you need to be farming. So for example, when you get Mark II raid currency, know which parts you need to buy and focus on those so that you can get your first relic character built. This is going to take 100 Chirotech shock prods and 50 of the injector cell salvage. You'll probably, for the first relic, have to farm every single one of those pieces. That's okay. Get in there and farm away. It's going to make your first relic take a while, but it's fine. You got to get started, right? The shard shop currency can be used to help. Again, in my other guides, this is all explained in detail. You may have to sacrifice some resources. For example, in the Cantina, you may have to make purchases of a character that you already have at 7 stars. Get those shards, feed them to the shard shop, so that you can use the shard shop to buy these materials. So make a balance with that early game. Make sure that your relic making is really a priority for your account. Looking at the Iden Versio, for example, if you look at her total gear, this is another way you can look at it. She's going to need 250 shock prods and 150 Cairo computers. Again, with your first characters, you're probably going to have to farm all of those. So getting Iden even to gear 12 might take a while for the account. But again, you want to focus on this. So if you see this and you understand what's going on, basically what you have to do, you have to farm those 7 hard nodes every day. You have to get your free energy. You have to go to the web store, get your free energy from there every day. Once you've got those 7 hard farms done, the rest of your energy for light and dark side, you're going to want to farm Chirotech, injector parts, and no other things. All right? That's how you have to organize yourself from the start. Now, I haven't played the newest version of the game from the start, but what I've heard, the ramp to level 85 is pretty quick now. If you buy the Hyperdrive bundle, you're instantly level 85. So I've set it up with 10 weeks for the first 2 relics. I haven't played it out myself to find out if that's actually, how long it would take me. Efficient people or people who are spending money might do it faster. Others might take longer. But I think 10 weeks, that's 2.5 months. That's quite a while. But I think that's long enough to farm up all the materials needed for both the TIE Pilot and Iden Versio. That's going to get us 2 relic characters that are going to be in important ships, and it should put us ahead of other people for Fleet Arena. That's the goal. As you continue to relic characters, you may need to do them in a different order, but really, I've picked this order for a reason, and we'll go through the timeline, and I'll show you who and why we should relic first. The starting fleet. So what we're going to do We're going to start out with that Iden and TIE pilot. Their ships are going to be in the starting lineup. We're going to be working on Dengar as a priority. I said to get him to 7 stars as soon as possible. Get him to gear 12 as soon as possible. He'll be the 3rd relic in the account. So we're going to want these 3 characters to be our first 3 relics. Now, this isn't the best starting lineup in the game, and Iden's Defender is much better when it's used out of a reinforcement. However, it has this interesting combination of good durability as well as really high damage. So it's almost a tank in how much damage it can take, and it's one of the best damage dealing ships in the game. So by bringing this in as early as possible, we won't be able to use it as reinforcement because we need it on the field right from the start. When we get the next big ship, we'll put that in. As Hound's Tooth becomes better, we can put that in as a starting ship and bring in Iden's ship as a reinforcement. And basically, once Iden is, the 4th ship, this fleet should be dominating almost everything. Hound's Tooth is a really powerful ship. Other people might come to the game, pay money, and very quickly build a relic level Hound's Tooth. That's basically a loss for most early game players who aren't prepared for it. But the Punishing One does have a skill that has Death Mark. So if you can get the Death Mark skill onto that Punishing One, you can put the Death Mark onto the enemy's Hound's Tooth, and that will allow you to very quickly take out their Hound's Tooth and give you a way to control even the toughest ship in the game. Imperial TIE Fighter is going to be an easy first relic. It's not very durable, but it has high evasion, so you can use the special, get foresight, evade a lot. When you evade with that ship, it feeds turn meter to the capital ship. So this combination is going to give you a quick ultimate on the Executrix, as well as ships on the field that are doing quite a lot of damage. And I would say not the most durable, but you should be able to take out the enemy's fleet before they have a chance to do much in return. That's the idea. That's the goal. And as you build these other ships, you can mix and match. You'll also have the Vulture Droid. I show it here in the reinforcements. Iden's node also has the Vulture Droid on it. So if you farm Iden to 7 stars, you should have a 4 or potentially 5-star Vulture Droid. That's another really good reinforcement. Has a lot of utility in the game, so you can use that. Hound's Tooth power curve. A lot of people think that you can build Hound's Tooth, take Bosk to Relic, and dominate the game. I did this on a prior account, and I had a 4-star Hound's Tooth with a Relic Bosk in it, and it was surprisingly not as good as I thought. There's a big difference between a 5 and 6-star Hound's Tooth, and there's a big difference between a 6 and 7-star Hound's Tooth. So viability on the Hound's Tooth is sort of, it starts to reach its power curve when Bosk is gear 12 and the ship is at least 5 stars. So what we're looking to do is get this ship to 5 stars about the same time that we Relic Bosk, and that'll give us a Hound's Tooth that's viable. But at that point, we may use it as a starting ship or a reinforcement, either one. As we get the 6-star in Hound's Tooth, you'll see a huge shift in its power, and once it gets to 7 stars, of course, it's really one of the best ships in the game. But you'll kind of have to play with the fleet, mix and match, and figure out when the right time is to start using that Hound's Tooth as a starting ship. When Hound's Tooth comes online, then of course we want that in, and we want to use Iden out of reinforcement. If we use Hound's Tooth, Punishing One, and TIE with the first reinforced Defender, I think that's beating almost everything in the game. A team that's maybe like Geo's, like a Relic Geo team under Home 1 could probably beat it, but most other teams under normal capital ships are going to lose to this. That's a good thing. Should put us able to place top 5 in fleet every day. Just a fair warning, if a Lightspeed bundle comes out that offers a capital ship or a bunch of pilots with relevant ships, you can get pushed out of Fleet Arena instantly. So while this team is good against other people that are building their accounts normally, if they for example, there's a Lightspeed bundle that includes a full 7-star negotiator capital ship. If that Skywalker bundle is offered and people buy it, they will instantly go to the top fleet, and you will never come close to beating it with what we're building. So just be aware that certain things with Lightspeed may entirely push you out of fleet placement. If you don't know, let's say, for instance, it's a Rebel offering. It doesn't specifically offer ships, but it's a bunch of Rebels. It may be that another player could buy that and just build basic ships and do really well. If you don't know, go to your guild or come to my Discord. Just put a note in general chat. Ask, is this Lightspeed bundle putting me in danger for fleet placement? Somebody will get you a reasonable answer. And basically then you'll have to make the choice to either buy the Lightspeed bundle or get left behind. I wish it wasn't that way, but that's the truth as I see it. Zetas. Priority for Zetas. When you get your first couple Zetas, they really need to go on those Imperial troopers. We're trying to get qualified for that Assault Battle Challenge Tier 1 completion. So let's look for those first 2 Zetas to go onto Veers and Piet. The third one, if you've built Phoenix, it's really worth putting the Zeta on Captain Rex. And then after that, we need to look to raid participation. For the Naboo raid, that would be Luminara. For future raids, it could be a different character, or maybe it doesn't need any Zetas at all. But it gives you an idea where to put them as we get started. In prior guides or in other people's guides, you may hear that Queen's Will on the Geos is really important, or that Darth Vader's Merciless Massacre is really important. Those are really good Zetas. And in prior guides, I myself have put them at the front of the list. But right now, with the way GAC runs, I really don't think it's important. I don't think it's helpful. So put the Zetas other places first that are going to help build your account, and leave the GAC specific stuff until later. Moving into phase 2. So from weeks 9 to 24, we're kind of in the middle part of the journey. The purpose is going to be to maintain that fleet arena presence constantly, ensure participation in the newest raid, start working on Commander Luke, and then start working on the Beskar Mando unlock, and also, take a look at Smuggler's Run. Resourcing, same thing. I think at this point, 10 weeks into the game, I think you're still dividing a third on credits, a third on characters, and a third on gear out of that guild activities shop. So don't just waste everything on gear and don't run out of credits. The raid team. We identified these Jedi earlier. We unlocked Grandmaster Yoda. Ahsoka's out of the team now. Grandmaster Yoda comes into the team. Luminara and Kit Fisto are absolutely required to make this work. You put a Zeta on Lumi's leadership. Kit Fisto has a special that gives you potency up. And in the Naboo raid, while your characters have heal over time and potency up, they get all kinds of special abilities. So you're going to activate that. In order to participate in the raid, the characters have to be at least 5 stars. So we don't have to build this team up to relic level. They're shown at relic level just because that's where they are in the account that I took the picture out of. But you can start out at 5 stars, gear 9 or so. Should get you at least 250,000 in the basic level of the raid. And then once they get to 7 stars and you have them all at gear 12, you could get 300,000 easily, and with some decent mods of full 450,000 participation. So if you're trying to join a guild that's doing the Naboo raid, they may say, well, you can join our guild, but you have to have a team. Build this team, get some participation, get yourself in a guild that's doing the latest raid. In the future, it'll be something other than the Naboo raid. Do your research, find out what that looks like. In the second phase, we're going to continue Rex, Houndstooth, and Bosk until they're finished. We're going to have Cara Dune and Queel as farms for the Mandalorian Beskar armor unlock. IG-2000 and Xanadu Blood are ships that we need, so we're going to start farming those. As we finish up Rex, we're going to start farming that Mara Jade. As we finish up Bosk, we're going to start farming that IG-11. Once you have the bomber, so Queel is on the same note as the Imperial bomber. You need it to 6 stars for the journey, but I do suggest that you continue to buy the Imperial Bomber out of the shop and take it all the way to 7 stars, it's definitely worth it. The Cantina farms, once we've done the TIE Pilot and got our Geos started, we're going to look at Dash Rendar and Hondo. We don't have to build those characters to, 7 stars. We're going to try to qualify for Smuggler's Run. It requires 5 smugglers at 6 stars. So at some time in the next 4 weeks, farm Dash Rendar up to 6 stars. And sometime up the next 4 weeks, farm Hondo up to 6 stars. You're going to be farming a lot of signal data out of the Cantina. Focus on the signal data. Make sure you stay on track for your Cantina farms for your relic characters. But do pick up Dash Rendar and Hondo to 6 stars for the Smuggler's Run event. Chief Chirpa, you can farm him later. He's going to be required for the Ewoks to unlock C-3PO, but I show him here. Don't worry about it. You got lots of time. You can farm Chief Chirpa a little bit at a time over several weeks. Eventually get him to 7 stars. But I just put him on the list. It's not necessary to finish him, for example, by week 22. In Fleet, we're going to continue to double farm that TIE Defender until we get it all the way to 7 stars. We're going to continue to farm Grief and Punishing One. Once we finish up with the Defender and Grief, we're going to look at things like the TIE Advanced, Slave 1 if we still need stars. Those are shop ships, but you might also need to farm them a little bit to get them to 7 stars. So do a little bit of both. By now you should have the Mandalorian node unlocked in Fleet. You can start farming the Mandalorian. Again, for the Beskar Mando journey. In terms of the relic priority, by week 10, we should have the Iden and TIE Fighter pilot relic. If it takes longer, fine. Again, it's just a guideline. After Iden, we're going to look to relic Dengar and then Bosk. Now, the relic on Bosk on this timeline appears before he finishes out to 7 stars. What I suggest, once you get Dengar to relic, don't charge in and start relicking Boba or another character. Instead, look up Bosk, figure out what gear you need, get ready so that as soon as you get to 7 stars, you go 7 stars, gear 12, relic 5 on Bosk. Okay? So literally, as soon as you can relic Bosk, take him up, save up the gear, get ready for it, look it up on Swgoh GG, and then from there you can go into Boba Fett and get a relic Boba Fett for your Slave 1, get Piet up to relics, finish out Boba Fett. Those are both relic 8s. So I've put in 8 weeks worth of time to develop those 2 relic 8s. That's a month each. Should be enough time. Again, it's a guideline. From there, we'll go into Darth Vader and the rest of the crew that are needed for the Executor journey. We do want to get those bounty hunters done, and you'll be able to unlock Chewbacca earlier than this, but for sure, with all these relic bounty hunters, the 7-star Chewbacca will be easy. In Phase 2, we're going to build that Naboo raid team, or whatever team is relevant to the current raid. We're going to build Smuggler's Run. We're going to build CLS Unlock team. Now, in order to get Commander Luke Skywalker unlocked, we need Luke, R2, Old Ben, Leia, and Stormtrooper Han. It's a bunch of shop characters. As you finish up shopping your journey characters, you can start shopping the CLS Unlock. Again, it's a lower priority. The top priority, Cad Bane, IG-88, all the shop characters that you need for this journey come before, but as you finish up with those in the shop, then you can move over to the CLS Unlock team. The Beskar Mando team we've got on the list to get them under farm. And the Empire team, once we start Mara Jade, you can put that team together. Smuggler's Run requires 5 6-star bounty hunters. I've done this with a gear 11 Han and Chewie and a low gear Dash Rendar. And then the 2 other bounty hunters, I didn't even have any gear on them at all. They were just level 1 trash characters. They just had 6 stars so that I could qualify for the event. So Dash, Han, and Chewie will carry you through the event. Again, I had to get them to like gear 10, gear 11. It's actually not that easy of an event. You do have to have some decent gear on your characters. But Smuggler's Run is a good loot. It's pretty easy to get. And for the cost of just, shopping for young Han up to 6 stars, you can farm Hondo, L3, Kira. There's a bunch of smugglers in the game. So if you'd prefer to do other smugglers, it's fine. You just need 5 of them at 6 stars and build up Han and Chewie to carry, because you're going to want to put relics on them eventually anyway. So all the gear that you put on them is going to good purpose. For the CLS Unlock team, it's shop characters. R2 is an easy journey. We're going to have plenty of stuff in the build here to do R2, so grab him. Once you do get CLS unlocked, he's a low priority. Don't get CLS and then immediately try to take him to gear 12. Everything that we're doing here is always coming second. We're working on the journey stuff first and working on the CLS stuff as a background project so that we have it ready to go after the Executor journey. Beskar Armor Mando. The Razor Crest is piloted by Mandalorian Beskar Armor. If you don't have the character, you can't unlock the ship. If you can't unlock the ship, you can't get Executor. Therefore, we have to do the Mandalorian Beskar Armor unlock. I've heard people say that they've done this with Gear 8 characters. Now, I tried it with Gear 8 characters. I was unsuccessful. With early game mods that are pretty mediocre, I found that it was not even close. I built up Grief Karga to Gear 12 because I wanted him for the bounty hunters for the Chewbacca unlock anyway. So even with Gear 12 Grief, still couldn't do it. I put a little more gear on Cara Dune and completed it. So Cara Dune's worth gearing up. The Mandalorian is also worth putting on a bounty hunter team at some point. So if you have to put a little bit of extra gear on those characters, don't worry about it. But now, like I said, some people have said they've completed it at Gear 8. I couldn't do it at Gear 8. Maybe you can. The Emperor Palpatine Mara Jade team. Emperor Palpatine should be easy to get. Again, we got tons of stuff to unlock him. If we get Phoenix ready to go, that's easy. We've got other rebels, no problem. Since we already have the Phoenix to get Thrawn would be on the team. If you'd never built the Phoenix, then you just have to find a different Empire character. You could throw in TIE Pilot even, or something like that. Just throw in another Empire character. But this is a team of, hey, we have this stuff anyway, so we might as well use it. This team can punch up a ton, and if you actually put the Omicron on Mara Jade for territory wars, even at low gear, this team is terrifying. It has turn meter control mechanics that allow you to establish a turn, get a turn meter, more characters take turns, and literally the enemy never gets to go. So I've beat full relic teams with a team that's Gear 8 characters plus Mara Jade. So it's an interesting, fun little team. Again, it's a lower priority than the stuff we need for the journey. In Phase 2, somewhere in Phase 2, of course, Bosk is going to be fully functional. And if we get Slave 1 fully functional as well, starting with 3 bounty hunters is going to help that punishing one. So we can look to Bosk punishing 1. A Slave 1 is the starting 3. If the Slave 1 is too weak and you find that enemies are easily knocking that out, then you can look to put that TIE back in the starting lineup or something like that. But mix and match, figure it out. But if we get these 3 bounty hunter ships with Iden as the first reinforce, once you've got that relic Iden, reinforcing with that defender is going to put a lot more damage on the field. Start feeding turn meter to your capital ship. It's pretty good. The TIE bomber is incredibly strong against rebels, so we want that as a reinforcement. Finish that out to 7 stars, even after you're done farming Queel. I'll repeat the warning. So if light speed bundles come out, you do have to pay attention to that. You may be partway through Phase 2, 16 weeks into the build, and you're like, 10, 12 weeks from now, I might get Executor, so I'm just going to skip that. Just be aware of how much, if you give up 10 weeks worth of fleet placement, 400 crystals per day, 2,800 per week, 28,000 crystals over 10 weeks. That's $150 worth of crystals. So don't give that up easily. So even halfway through the journey, you're going to have to wait. Now, if you're almost done with the Executor journey and you're going to get it in, the next time the Executor event runs, well, of course, then you can decide to skip it if you want. Zetas, just to repeat what I said, you get the troopers done, Phoenix if you built those, pay attention to the raid. Then you can look to that Emperor Palpatine team, give the leadership Zeta to Palpatine, and give Merciless Massacre to Vader. And after that, I would just work on the CLS team. CLS, 3 Zetas on him, Loyal Friend on Chewie, Shoot First on Han. That's 5 Zetas. It's quite a lot. Early game, you don't get just tons of Zetas. So 5 Zetas just on the CLS team. And if you've done the Troopers, that's 2. Rex is 1, 2 on the Emperor Palpatine team. So this could be up to 10 Zetas. If you're not getting Zetas very quickly at all, skip the Palpatine team and just go straight to working on CLS. Omicrons. Iden, everything that you put on a pilot makes the ship better. So if you put the Omicron on Iden for GAC, it will make her ship better. You will have to pay attention. Iden needs non-leader, non-droid troopers. So we've already got Stormtrooper and Stark that are not leaders. But in order to do 5v5, you would need to build 2 other troopers that fit the bill in order to have an Iden-led 5v5 team. But it's really good in GAC. It's worth it. It makes the ship better. We wanted the ship. We want it anyway. So Iden's serving like 10 purposes here, right? She's making the trooper team better. She's getting us those challenge tier 1 completions. Her ship is doing well for us in fleet. It's a good thing for the future. She can anchor a team for territory wars for GAC. So this is just an all-around character that we want to make sure we're making the best use of. I used to suggest Qui-Gon Jinn as an early Omicron. It's still viable in Grand Arena, but you also have to build Jedi Knight Anakin to make it worth it. And I've really deprioritized that. Again, because the Grand Arena matchmaking right now, it's not a rewarding game mode to build for. And having these teams, when you're fighting against an 8 million galactic power opponent, it's not going to help anyway. So focus on the things that help you build your account. And, you could do an Omicron there if you want to. I think Poggle's better. If you actually put Poggle Omicron on, that's good for territory wars. It makes the GOs really nasty. And if your guild puts on like 20 different players are willing to put that Omicron on, you just build a front wall that has 10 in each of the front zones, and most opposing teams won't even get through your front wall because a lot of early guilds don't build stuff that beats that Omicron Poggle team. So for the first cost of a few Omicrons, you can just dominate territory war, which is good for your guild. I mean, winning territory war is more loot. Phase 3, moving on. The purpose in Phase 3, again, we're going to try to maintain that fleet arena placement. We're going to get to the Executor unlock, and I'll talk you through that. We're going to work on that CLS team, and we're going to follow up the Executor journey with the CLS relics. By Phase 3, your resourcing should be such that most of the characters that you've needed out of that guild activity shop are purchased. So you could be spending about a third on credits, switch over to spending more on gear. If you still have to buy characters, of course, pay attention to that. But you still need to be buying a lot of credits at this point. You'll need to be buying a lot of credits for the 5 or 6 years into gameplay, you can lay off on buying the credits. But until then, you'll need to buy a lot of credits. Phase 3, Commander Luke Skywalker. So the Commander Luke team needs to have Commander Luke, Chewbacca, Han Solo, 3PO and Chewie, C-3PO. 3PO and Chewie have to be farmed. Han is purchased out of the shop. Chewbacca is unlocked with those bounty hunters. And C-3PO, we need Ewoks. C-3PO journey is very hard. The 7-star completion of that is notoriously difficult. Princess Nisa was brought into the game later, and she trivializes this challenge. So you will need good gear on a couple of these in my experience, but if you maybe gear up Elder to keep bringing things back to life, that's fine. If you gear up Nisa as your damage dealer, that's fine. But with a little bit of gear on these Ewoks, you shouldn't need the Zeta on Chirpa. As I said, there's already a ton of Zetas that we need on characters that are priority. So I would say really try to do this without the Zeta on Chirpa. Put a little more gear on Elder, Nisa, or Paplu if you have to, and just get this done with a bunch of shop Ewoks and leverage Nisa into a win. Shouldn't be too bad, even with mediocre mods. So for these weeks, finishing up the Executor farms and working on CLS characters and unlocks. Here you see as the farm's finished, there's just empty space. This is where you would go in, look to your next journey. I suggest Jabba. So you go into the Jabba journey, figure out which characters you have to farm. Okay, Houndstooth finishes up. Let's put Fennec Shand in there and start farming her. When Mara Jade finishes up, so on and so forth. So figure out the characters that you need and farm those up. Same thing for the Cantina farms. I put in signal data or things that you need for your next journey. So split the difference there, farm a little bit. I say 80% signal data, 20% on characters. Seems reasonable to me. But keep those things going. Look to your next journey. Make sure you know what you're getting. For Fleet, we're going to finish up with that TIE Man, Slave 1, Mandalorian, Punishing 1. Those all finish up. And there's plenty to farm out of Fleet. So figure out if there's Fleet requirements for whatever you want next. Shaak Ti is a good Fleet farm. Anakin's ship is important. You'll want that someday. So if you can't figure out anything in Fleet that you really want to farm up Anakin's ship, because you definitely will be able to make use of that if you don't buy it out of a hyperdrive bundle or something. Some of the CLS characters may be ready to relic. So based on the timeline here, you'll see that we have IG-88 finishing up at Relic 5. And then right after that, we've got Cad Bane. Cad Bane is not part of the journey, but we're definitely going to want that character relicked for the Executor Fleet. But then Beskar Mando may or may not be unlocked and ready to relic at that point. You know, he needs quite a bit of gear to get to gear 12. So that may be a point where, okay, I finished all this stuff. I know that I need to relic Beskar Mando, but if you've got a couple of those CLS characters ready, they'll probably come in the order before you're ready to finish the Beskar Mando. I do suggest finishing the Beskar Mando to a relatively high relic level. I think Razor Crest is a fantastic ship in the way it works right now. The more power you can put in there, the better. Again, it's not part of the journey to relic that character, but you do need to do it to have the most effective Executor Fleet. When we talk about the Executor unlock, we've gone through this sequence. We get all of the characters finished out to relic. We get Beskar Mando unlocked. We get the Razor Crest unlocked. And we're not ready yet. The Razor Crest may not be 7 stars. Some of your other ships may not be 7 stars. But don't fret, don't panic. We're still going to be able to complete this journey earlier than you think. So as long as all the characters have reached the correct relic level, you qualify for the very first battle in Discarded Doctrine with your ships at 4 stars and the Razor Crest at 5 stars. Once you qualify to do the journey, there will be a pack that shows up in the shop. So you go into the in-game shop and you will be able to purchase Executor shards for crystals. So in order to unlock the Executor at 4 stars, you need 80 shards. And to get 80 shards from the journey, you need to be able to complete all 4 missions. And the 4th one requires 7-star ships. So you may not be able to complete all of the nodes, but as soon as you qualify for that first mission, the pack shows up in the shop and you can buy it. Now, for people who are willing to spend a little bit of money or crystals, this is a fantastic deal. I did it on the Profundity journey when I did it on my Lex Talionis project. I could only, with all the characters at minimum requirements, just to unlock the Profundity journey itself, I could only complete the first battle. I went in and I made a bunch of purchases out of the shop and unlocked the Profundity instantly. Later, as you complete the journey, those other 70 shards will take your ship from 4 stars to 5 stars very quickly. So as you qualify for the rest of the journey, it'll be easy to get the 5th star. When you get the 5th star in your capital ship, you get another reinforcement slot, which is really good. So that's what I would recommend you do. So get qualified for the journey. All the required characters to relic, all the ships to at least 4 stars, Razor Crest unlocked to at least 5 stars, and then just get in there, complete like 1 mission, buy the rest of the shards, get your Executor up and running, and then finish the rest out later. If you're completely unwilling to pay crystals or shards, I would say it would take like 2 more cycles, probably 8 more weeks. If you get that Beskar Mando up to like Relic 5, Relic 7, something like that, it's going to simplify these missions quite a lot. The ship will be more durable. It'll do a lot more damage. So you should be able to complete it at that point. But yeah, if you're completely free to play or unwilling to spend money, then you just have to wait for everything to be 7 stars and ready to go before you'll be able to finish the journey. Most people I know chose to unlock it way ahead of time. And hey, if you qualify, if you've got the Razor Crest to 7 stars and everything's good, and as soon as you're ready, you go all the way, then good for you. Once you get the Executor Fleet, we're going to want to do this 3 attacker lineup. It's currently, I would say, the second best fleet in the game. That may change in the future, of course, as new things come out, but you got the Punishing One, the Razor Crest, and Xanadu Blood. You do the mass assist, and you can kill almost any ship in the game in a single volley. So that's good no matter how you look at it. And then from there, you reinforce with your other bounty hunters, and you can beat everything except a certain lineup with the Leviathan. And even then, I've been able to beat Leviathans with this fleet. So it's definitely going to get you fleet placement for a long time to come in the future. At some point, you do have to max out your Piet. Get all the skills maxed out, buy all of his Zetas, make sure you have 6 dot mods in every slot. If you have a couple 5 dot mods and you fight an opponent that has all 6 dot mods, their ship will be 1 speed faster than yours. You'll go second. It's easier if you go first. If you're in the mirror match and you go first and you just kill their Xanadu Blood, it's easier from there, right? So basically, we want to make sure that Piet's always maxed out. Eventually, some people are going to take their Piet to Relic 9, and you're also going to have to take your Piet to Relic 9. There is a way to win with this fleet from an underdog position, knowing that you're going to go second. You swap out the Xanadu Blood for the IG 2000 and use your heal as your first skill, heal up your ships, and go from there. So there's ways to do it from an underdog position, but for myself, I like to have that Relic 9 and just, going first is better. So that's the way I like to play it. But that can wait for a very long time. I mean, like, let's say you finish the Executor journey today, you can Relic 9 Piet next year, like a year later. It can wait a long time. All right, this build has given us a fully functional second fleet. I've got it shown here under the Chimera, but it could run under the Executrix as well. If you've done the Phoenix, unlock the Chimera, great. If you haven't, just continue to use the Executrix. You want to finish that TIE Bomber to 7 stars, start with the 3 TIEs, the TIE Fighter, the TIE Advanced, and the TIE Bomber, and bring in Iden as that first reinforcement. Vader's ship is notoriously hard to protect and very fragile. So if you're trying to use this, like let's say it's your ship that you're using on offense in Grand Arena, or you're using it in Territory Wars, and you find that Vader just gets killed instantly, don't be surprised. I mean, that ship is really, really fragile. You may want to work on the Emperor's Shuttle. If you put the Emperor's Shuttle in here instead of the TIE Advanced, that gives you more reliability with this fleet. You still got the Defender as your first reinforce, and then you can bring in Vader as a second reinforce. Still got the Vulture droid that you can put in here as a reinforcement. So we get not only the fully functional Executor fleet to dominate our fleet arena, we also get a completely functional second fleet, so that in Grand Arena we can make the choice to either put Executor on defense and stop the enemies, or put this fleet on defense, and it's still going to be pretty hard for a lot of opponents to beat unless they've also built a pretty darn good fleet. All right, and TIE Bomber, remember the TIE Bomber completely shuts down Rebel fleets, so it's pretty interesting ship. In terms of Zetas and Omicrons, finish out that CLS team, RJ team, and from there, I would really look to your next journey. I wouldn't go back and try to fill in, all the stuff on the geos and everything else that you think you might need or that you heard from somebody else is good. I would go journey by journey from here, and if the next journey is Jabba, then you'll start looking at the characters there, deciding what Zetas you're going to put on, and as you build the characters for the Jabba journey, put the Zetas on them. Jabba himself would need 6. Galactic Legends requires 6 Zetas. So there's plenty of Zetas that you will need. Don't just throw them away on a bunch of characters that are maybe less relevant. So let's talk final thoughts. Watch my other guides. So I'm giving you the structure of what to build here, but you really need to go watch the game mechanics, how to use the shops, the best way to relic characters. That's going to be a really good resource for you to understand how to play the game efficiently and meet these timelines. So I'm not trying to make money or make you watch ads or some crazy stuff like that. If you're a new player and you want to know these things, learn about it. Learn about it so that you can have plenty of fun in the game and still be efficient. Efficiency doesn't take away from the fun. For me, it's always good to know that at least when I'm spending the materials or doing a certain thing, that I'm doing it the right way and the resources aren't wasted. Again, let's talk about the timeline. I've got it marked out for 35 weeks to get to a 4-star Executor unlock. The Iden Versio farm at the start does extend that timeline, but it does give you a much better chance to place high in fleet right from the start. If you can get high fleet placement from the start, that's more crystals, helps you snowball your progress. Check out the fleet store. Make sure you're picking up that Razor Crest every time. Some people have told me that they had the Razor Crest all done at 7 stars, ready to go. Some people have told me that it took quite a lot longer, so the statistics on this are not reliable. If you're spending money, focus on getting Bosk and Houndstooth finished faster. If you're offered packs that have Bosk or Houndstooth or Bounty Hunters in them, those are the things that you'll want to buy to accelerate the account. Accelerating those farms then lets you unlock Beskar Mando faster, which accelerates your timeline by up to 8 weeks. So you could unlock the Executor at like week 27 without spending a lot of money. It's just, some purchases here and there for some extra shards. But focus on Bosk, the Houndstooth, and other Bounty Hunters, and just pull the other farms forward. Remember that you qualify at relatively low ship stars to get the unlock. You just need the relic characters. Remember that Cad Bane and Beskar Mando are hidden relic requirements. They're not part of the journey, but you really need them for the fleet. You also need a 7-star capital ship, but again, I haven't played the game from the start recently, but I think those events are just present now, and it's pretty easy for those 3 starting capital ships to have them at 7 stars. If that's wrong, if I misunderstood that, then do pay attention to it and make sure you get a 7-star capital ship for that last requirement. Importance of early refreshes. If you are ever going to spend money, spend it at the start. Make sure you're getting 3 refreshes on all of the basic energies every day. Cantina, Mod, Light and Dark, and Fleet Energy. And make sure that you're building your account. If you're getting those refreshes, if you're building your account faster than other people, that gets you ahead, gets you fleet placement, gets you more crystals, makes it so that you can continue to build faster than other people, and it just goes from there. Okay. Some people will come to the game and they will drop an inordinate amount of money. So I always talk about placing top 5 in fleet because there could easily be 2 or 3 players. When I played the Lex Talionis project, I would say I was 4 weeks into the game on a brand new, completely free-to-play account, and there was a player who had purchased a complete relic rebel fleet under Home 1. Radis was relic 8. All the pilots were relic 7. I mean, this person just went in and bought everything for a very high relic rebel fleet in the first couple weeks of gameplay. So, okay, he's just sat in first place. Who cares? Second place is still 375 crystals, right? But, as long as we're in the top 5, if we can't be in the top 5, top 10 is okay. Still gets you 200 crystals, but top 5 is really the goal. Get that right away. Without fleet placement, getting that 750 crystals a day for the basic refreshes is costly. It's probably you spending a lot of money. But if you can get that top 5 placement, you get 300 to 400 crystals, and the game's going to give you probably 150 more per day. So if you can land that 400 crystals, get 150 from the game, it's easy to get the rest. If you're competitive and a bunch of people are building good fleets, don't lose all hope. In the early fleet game, a lot of times for the higher placement people, for For the people who are being competitive, some will organize a Discord. You might see an invite in-game that says, hey, join our fleet Discord. What all that people want to do there, they want to organize when your payout time is. When you're in the hour before your payout time, you play. And then for the other 23 hours of the day, just let other people place, right? If you want number 1 in fleet, you only have to be number 1 at the moment that you get your payout. For the other 23 hours, you could be number 16. Doesn't matter, right? So do the courtesy of letting other people place. When you know that other people have the same payout time as you, don't fight them in that last hour before payout. So like player A gets to first place and has the same payout time as you, you just got to take second that day, you know? And in this way, you can get a really good result for the community. Everybody can work together. 5 players, 24-hour slots, 120 people a day can get top 5 placement if you work together. All right, for the first few months, this is built really on getting the Executor journey done. The next big thing is Conquest. So you can think of it like priority 1, get my big fleet built, get that crystals from Fleet Arena locked down, and then that's done. The next thing is to get to 4 million galactic power, get into hard conquest, and start unlocking those super sweet conquest characters that get introduced in that game mode. Well, in order to do that, you have to be able to complete a lot of nodes in Conquest Hard, which is pretty hard, okay? So if you don't build teams that are good in Conquest, you may get to 4 million and not be able to do hard Conquest and get those characters. So the CLS team destroys Conquest. Even in hard Conquest, I've had the CLS team at like 20% stamina and still been able to complete nodes. It's crazy how good they are. You need a couple other good teams. The Jabba Journey, I really like the Jabba Journey because you're going to do Jedi Knight Luke. That's going to give you a Jedi team that does great in Conquest. Jabba himself will build a team that dominates Conquest. That will give you 3 teams, and you can take those teams in, run down their stamina, let them build back up, and get through a lot of Conquest just with 3 teams. So I like Jabba as the next journey. So it's Executor, CLS team, all 5 characters to Relic, and then the Jabba journey after that. Once you complete Jabba, it's pretty easy to also get Jedi Master Luke, another Galactic Legend. You can do Galactic Legend Leia as your first GL. She does great in Conquest, but it's not quite as many good teams or as much synergy. So she's faster to get, but Jabba is the better long-term goal. But you could also do other things. There's at the point that you've got your fleet placement and you've got your some of the early events under control, there's no wrong choices at that point. You can do a lot of different things. So we secured 3 assault battles. We talked about the troopers, getting 2 of them right away. The Phoenix team, if you get them to 7 stars, can also do challenge tier 1 for, I think, military might. But once you get the CLS team, if you didn't do it with Phoenix, for sure you can do it with CLS. So that's 3 sources of injectors. If you do the Jabba journey, Jedi Knight Luke is also completion in Ground War. And I really, like I said, there's a lot of synergy with Jabba, just, again, building the foundation of your account, doing a lot of things. Jedi Knight Luke kind of trivializes Ground War. If you get some other Relic Jedi, you can do Challenge Tier 3, all the way up to Challenge Tier 3. So, again, the truth for new accounts, light speed bundles, I wish it was different, but a lot of times you're going to be faced with buy it or get left behind. Just be aware of that. Don't think it's a bad deal that you have to buy it. Like if you have to spend a certain amount of money for a pack that's going to dominate fleet, the light speed bundles are always tremendously valuable. For the money that they charge, it's always a really good deal. So in conclusion, we've got a journey laid out here that's going to be a mix of the Executor journey, a follow-up CLS team. We're going to have teams to do galactic challenges, conquest, raid participation, some key events, assault battle, smuggler's run. So we didn't just rush the Executor. We built an account. As always, this is an outline. If you have other things that you want to add, things that you want to subtract, things you want to do or don't do, feel free. It's a guideline. It's not a hard and fast thing. The timelines aren't 100% set in stone. Just kind of use it as as a concept. All right. We've all heard this. Friends don't let friends drive drunk. Have you heard that? You probably heard that. Maybe people who go to the gym would say something like, friends don't let friends skip leg day. Maybe you heard that. Maybe it sounds like a saying you could believe in. So in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, friends don't let friends skip mod refreshes. So if you skip your mod refreshes, you're not my friend. All right, that's going to wrap up this holocron. Thank you all for watching. Please remember to hit that like button on the way out if you didn't hit it on the way in. Subscribe if you want to see more of my stuff in the future. Notification bell tells you when I'm doing my live streams. And of course, I mentioned the Discord. The link is down below. Click that. Join the Discord. It's a pretty safe community for new players. You can ask questions, get help. There's an Ask Loquitur channel. You can ask me questions, and I'll help you when I can. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next holocron.